Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We have a very special guest coming on.
Somebody I like to call a friend. I hope he thinks I'm his friend, too.
General Michael Flynn, who...
how are you, gentlemen? How are you guys doing? And thank you for having me on this blustery day there where you're at. I'm lucky I was able to get out, and I have a meeting down in Florida, so I'm actually in a pretty good spot right now.
Wait, where are you now? In D.C.?
No, I'm actually down in the East Coast. I'm down in the Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach area.
Oh, let's go to lunch afterwards.
I know, huh?
We're in West Palm.
So, I'm actually downtown in the. We're having a small summit down here today to talk about.
I'm grateful that you're coming on.
Thank you so much.
I want to begin with talking about ICE. It appears that the Democrats have found the issue that they're looking for. In attacking ICE and what they would call the overreaction and the overzealousness in going after people. But you've been saying that there's more here than meets the eye, that the hidden hand of the left is behind these riots and doing it deliberately. Tell us about that, General, please.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I mean, I write quite a bit, and one of the things and I typically write about, geopolitics and national security and just, strategic issues. And as I began to really examine some of the things that are happening on the streets of America, not just because of this most recent, thing going on with ICE up in Minneapolis, but over time, there is a hidden hand. It's sort of if you want to call it a deep state within a deep state, right? You have your deep state bureaucracy and both at federal level in Washington, D.C., but also in many parts of the country, especially in some of these blue states. We call them blue states, right? Because it's like a state like Minnesota led by a Democrat governor in Walz. Mm-hmm. But you also have other elements that are international elements and local, state, maybe even, national level, for-profit, not-for-profits that work together in collusion, to support these, types of efforts, and it's everything from, everybody sees this. American people see this. Your audience, is a very smart audience, and they see this kind of thing. But the question is, sort of who are these people and why aren't we able to challenge them? Why aren't we able to do anything about it? And I do think that listening to Scott Bassett, listening to Marco Rubio, listening to Stephen Miller, policy advisor to Donald Trump, and of course President Trump himself, they appear to be trying to take some actions against this money, because it's money at the end of the day. You can't have activists show up with all of the accoutrements that they have. I mean, I was told, like, for example, Friday and Saturday, knowing that the weather was coming in, that some group, and I don't have the answer, exactly who, but I will discover who it is. But they actually shipped in, trucks filled with jackets, gloves, hats, scarves, warm weather gear, and they were issuing it out. Saturday, so this is Sunday. So they started to issue this out because the weather conditions up in Minnesota right now, Minneapolis, are probably zero. Never mind the blustery weather.
Bring your own outrage.
Yeah. So there is a hidden hand, and that's what I wrote about recently. And I appreciate you bringing that to light, Dick, because I think that
General, let's just play it out. Sorry to interrupt you, but let's just play it out. Do you think that there is a serious effort here to incite violence, to get ICE to overreact, and so that the left can live off the shootings and the outrages that appear to be committed, that are provoked by these groups?
100%. I would bet a dime to a dollar with anyone that is in fact the case. Now, these are, when Trump is out and about, the world, and he's doing the things that he's doing, his great speech to Davos the other day, all this issue, because I know I don't know if we'll have time today, we're talking about everything from Venezuela to Greenland to, what's happening in the Middle East, Europe, here in the homeland, the kinds of things that Trump is doing to get the economy going. All of that are things that the left does not want to be talking about. What they want to be talking about is, that the zealousness or the overreaction of federal law enforcement professionals, based on, the Nazi in the White House. I mean, this is what the left's message wants, and they want to they will do anything to distract from any positive outcomes that President Trump is achieving, because they want to. We're in a very critical year, and nobody knows this better than you, Dick. The criticality of midterm elections. So this is a really, really important year. So anything that they can do, and there will be forces, dark forces, evil forces, that will pay whatever price to keep the distraction exactly where it's at. So President Trump has to be very cautious about the decisions that he makes, because the consequences could be, it could be dire as we head into next November.
So, General, when I forgot the guy's name, the guy who was just killed.
Pretty. His name was Pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When Pretty advanced on an armored vehicle and held at least his cell phone in his hand, some say gun, and attacked the vehicle, do you believe that he was, in effect, a suicide bomber?
Like he needed to be a martyr type of thing?
Do you think that?
Do
you think that he was giving his life?
Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at with this. I appreciate that. I'm not. I wasn't there. There has to be an investigation. There's so many different angles that this thing was seen by. But the bigger question is: are there people being in harm's way for harmful purposes?
Yeah.
And I have to believe, and we know this to be true anyways, because of the activists that we've seen from Los Angeles to Portland to Seattle to Minneapolis to Detroit to, many, Washington, D.C. for that matter, New York City. When we talk about the various protests for, Palestine, nobody's talking about Palestine anymore because Trump solved that, right? So what they have to do is they have to turn the attention, but they have to get these activists. And the thing that they're going to learn is, was this guy a paid activist? Was he part of an organization? And we typically find out during an investigation, which will ensue, and there'll be professionals to do it, and they'll find out very quickly, why was this guy out there in freezing cold temperatures to stop law enforcement from doing their lawful, the lawful execution of their duties, which is to remove illegals from this country who are raping, pillaging, murdering American citizens. This is not
ask
theoretical.
a further question. Why did he have 2 clips of ammunition on his body? Why did he approach them with a gun? Why did he attempt to conceal the gun? And do you think that this is what the left used to call the agent provocateur?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be speculating, but I probably wouldn't be far off. Here's the funny sort of paradox of all this, Dick and Doug. I mean, so now the left is going to have to be champions for Second Amendment rights.
Right.
So that's the reverse of this is that, and this is really, to me, and I'm already starting this because I also, I want to see the White House be very strong in their condemnation of anybody who is standing against the bounded law enforcement professionals that we have to do their job.
Right.
That has to end. now the left is going to have to be champions for the Second Amendment. It's serious, but it's funny at the same time.
I'm amazed, General, that the left is prepared to head on be anti-ICE. The Senate even talking about cutting off the appropriations for ICE unless there are amendments passed crippling it. That you literally have a pro-crime, pro-illegal immigration, pro-keep letting murderers and rapists stay in the country constituency.
I think it is a divide and conquer with the funding people, whether it's Soros, whomever they are. And Bissett said they're going to follow the money. They're going to see where these jackets came from and where all these signs come from. Yeah. But I think it's divide and conquer and make these more useful idiots more useful. And when one gets shot, they probably like the idea that funding people. They see that it's going to be big.
Let's take it a slightly different tack, because you're hitting on something that's very important. And I have always said that, all war is deception, right? Because there's a lot of deception in warfare. So distractions, right? What was going on up in Somalia that they don't want us talking about? Well, Trump just posted, I think today or last night, we're now looking at $100 billion in U.S. taxpayer money that has been basically taken out of the state of Minnesota and through the city of Minneapolis, through the TSA. They found, $700 million in suitcases, $100 billion U.S. taxpayer dollars that are absconded from the state of Minnesota. But, what they want to talk about is they want to talk about how bad ICE is, right? So they are always going to seek ways to distract, and they're going to cause mayhem, chaos on the streets. Even if it's 30 below, they'll be there, because they cannot have the story of $100 billion in grift being stolen from U.S. taxpayers through the state of Minnesota, and Governor Walz, allegedly. I think what they'll find is that Governor Walz and his team, elements within his government, elements within the state, and certainly elements in Minneapolis were well aware of it. You cannot have that kind of money flowing out of one state. We know it's out of multiple states, but at least $100 billion right now that we assess coming out of Minneapolis and Minnesota. So that's what we need to be talking about. Who, what, when, where, why, and how.
And the idea that there's a system going on where they let in a group of immigrants, Somalians, who may have once had just cause to come, who are a minority, who work together, who are conspiratorial, and who are determined to rip off the state for as much as they can. And then when we close in on them, they riot against ICE and vilify a police officer, and then force a death, force an outrage, so that they can profit off that, like they did off George Floyd.
100%.
It elevates partisanship to a new and disgusting level. General, go ahead, sir.
Well, what I was going to say briefly is that I want people that are listening to your show that are from all over this country to know that these ICE agents, these federal law enforcement officers, they're not being shipped in. Maybe now because of the size of these protests, but most of these agents that are on the streets, they're protecting their citizens, getting rid of these illegals, are from those communities. Their wives work in their communities, principally. Their children go to the schools in those communities. These are people that are in their communities helping them. And that's why these activists generally that are in charge of these protests, they're coming from outside. They're not from the communities.
So now we have to worry about these creeps doxing them, doxing them.
Now, I'd like to break for a minute from the discussion of the Iceman cometh to go to
Greenland.
Talk about Greenland. Tell us why Greenland is important to the United States strategically, militarily.
Quickly, and this goes back to World War II, the Battle of the Atlantic. Greenland became very important. We had communications, we had airfields, we had intelligence, and other devices up in Greenland as we were fighting the Battle of the Atlantic, trying to defeat the Nazis during World War II. So there's a long history going at least back, 80, 90 years, and this actually goes back to even before the U.S. entered World War II. So since that time, we actually have a treaty. I think the treaty, don't hold me to the exact year, but I think it's around 1950. The U.S. has a treaty with Greenland already. So we've been very good stewards. We've continued to work with the Danes and NATO and the positioning of Greenland. But when you look at Greenland geographically, and then sort of geostrategically, it is the entrance to the Arctic, which has an abundance of resources that the Russians want. Greenland itself is a natural resource, but also Greenland is a barrier, if you will, for sort of the new forms of warfare that we are in. It's not just a place where, as Trump has indicated, another location for his idea about the Golden Dome to protect us from nuclear attacks and such. But it is a strategic positioning for really critical straits, geographic straits in the Atlantic and in the Arctic Oceans that we have to be able to use to protect our own national security.
Explain the idea of
what Trump is doing.
Explain the impact of climate change on the Northwest Passage and how that's changing geography.
Yeah. Well, the worst thing about climate change for the Russians is that if they have to pass through the straits up there with their nuclear submarines, which they do routinely. So climate change is when somebody launches a nuclear attack from undersea, and we sit here and go, oh my God, we should have listened to Trump and leverage that part of the world to be able to protect our own interests.
But I mean the Northwest Passage becoming increasingly ice-free.
I don't know.
With not ice in Minneapolis, but there's no ice up there.
I don't know about this climate change thing.
I can't take it. I can't take it. But I mean, your audience. So I'll leave you with this. I'm from up in New England. I'm near Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock was identified in 1600. Okay, 1600. The ocean hasn't crept up on Plymouth Rock, not an inch since 1600. Right. So, if anybody that ever goes up there, you go up there in the summertime to visit Plymouth Rock. It's a very great piece of history for the United States founding. Go look at Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock hasn't submerged underneath the water yet, folks. So
and Florida, we should be underwater.
Yeah, but I mean, increasingly the idea of the Northwest Passage as an alternative to the Panama Canal, which is basically running out of water because of evaporation.
Yeah. Right.
With those climate change,
you're exactly right. You're exactly right, Dick. And the distances between the Pacific and the Atlantic, between the Pacific and the Mediterranean, between the Pacific and the Baltic Sea, which is the northern part of Europe, and the Pacific, like the trade routes, or using the Panama Canal, the differences in distance are not that much. Right. One of the things that Trump realizes that he has to invest in, and this is very tactical in nature, but we have to invest in icebreakers because the Russians actually invested in, they have about 60 icebreakers. It's a very tactical detail.
Interesting.
But people need to understand this. Yeah, the Russians have about 60 icebreakers. About 20% of them are nuclear powered. The United States of America has 4. None of them are nuclear powered, and they're all 1950s vintage. So Trump he fully understands this issue. It is a big deal because in order to break through, the passage routes, the trade routes that run the northern part of the world, we need those kinds of capabilities. And actually, we can manufacture those types of ships right here in the United States of America in places like Pennsylvania, places like Maryland and Mississippi. So there's a lot of benefit there.
I think that the thing that the administration is not explaining to people, and I hope you do, is that the geographic changes brought on by climate change and the de-icing of the Arctic have changed and also the Golden Dome defense approach, and also the Chinese and Russian naval fleets have changed the strategic calculus to a point where Greenland becomes essential, not just optional.
Well, listen, we have a hard break coming, General. If you want to stay on, you let us know, but I know you have to go.
No, we
just quickly say, because Dick, you used a key word. I would make it stronger. It is vital. Greenland is a vital national security interest, which means that President Donald J. Trump has a duty and a responsibility in order to preserve the Constitution of the United States of America, that he has got to put this on the table, and he's doing exactly what I think he needs to do. So God bless you guys. Thank you to your great audience.
Well, thank you so much, General.
Thank you for breaking the ice.
It's an honor to have you on, General.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.